Okay. Timmy, I think you can proceed.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to um, the Value is New Currency webinar. We are Thrive Grid. We are a community that is designed or that was created to impact or bridge the gap between you and financial empowerment and, you know, skill and wealth building. So my name is Timile Adekemi. I will be anchoring this event. And the event we are all attending here is, as we know, it's a Values in New Currency webinar. And so it's to show how creating, nurturing, and sharing our own personal values as an individual, how that can unlock opportunities for each and everyone's personal and professional growth. And our host today is going to be Dr. Emmanuel Akinseye. So without further ado, I would like to invite him to. Okay, first of all, okay, yes, I would like to invite him to, uh, enlighten each and every one of us on how value is a new currency.
Thank you. Thank you to me. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for being a part of what we are doing here in Tribe Grid. I can see a couple of us have been joining. We just give just that 5 minutes head start so that others could just allow some couple of people to. First of all, I just want to appreciate everyone that has been a part of Tribe Grid. That have joined in our webinars for this year. I think this is our fourth webinar for the year. We've had turning resolution to reality. We've done money matters, and the last one we had was last month, which was thinking global and acting local. And this is the very fourth webinar. And of course, we still have some couple of webinars that are coming this year. I think we still have about 2 webinars coming this year. There is one on mindset monetization and multiplication. I think that's going to be really interesting. We have a guest speaker that's also coming for that. There's also another one that's most likely will be in September, that's next month, possibly on branding equity. All right. And we're working on a guest also for that. So I think it's just something that the promise here in ThriveGrid is we want an holistic growth. Okay, so an holistic growth in the sense that there's growth personally, and also there's growth in business and career, whatsoever you are doing. So whatever services you are rendering, either you're an entrepreneur or you're just a service provider, right? The goal is to see how we can improve collectively, okay, as a community. And for those that has, followed the community, I know that we've also introduced book reading, tried like a challenge and things like that. So the whole essence is growth. That's what I would say. The whole essence of what we are doing in Tribe is to see that you and I are growing personally. You and I are having an holistic growth, okay, both personally and both in the regards of the kind of services that we are. You might be in the professional space or you might be in the corporate space, right? So there are a lot of things that we are going to implement that's also going to help you. How can I thrive in the corporate space? And if you are someone that is into business or into startups, we're also looking at areas where we are going to introduce how can you help you to kickstart your startups, how can you upskill your startups. So the whole essence of Thrive Grid is just creating that togetherness, all right, that platform where there is a safe space, there's a closure for growth, for you to experience growth both personally and in your corporate space, or if you're a service provider in that sense. So thank you all for joining in. I just want to make this announcement is that for those that have been in the in within the chat group, I know that we've been talking about think we are planning to have a community meeting, the first community meeting where this is different from a webinar where everybody actually meets. We come to, because the goal of Tribe Grid, even from the name, the grid talks about the network. So we want to create that platform where people begin to network. So people that are, you might have somebody in healthcare and there's another person in healthcare. There might be an opportunity to share idea. There might be somebody in tech and somebody in healthcare, and they want to collaborate. So the essence, is for the community meeting that we'll be having. Is just for the community, just to see, let people know, meet each other. All right. Let there be that place of networking. Let there be that grid. Okay, let people know what you are doing. So that's going to be the essence. And I think for those that are already within the community, something to look forward to. Okay, and be a part. All right. So today we'll be talking about value is the new currency. Okay, I think I probably just my video for those that probably, yeah. So my face is familiar with most people, right? So value is the new currency, all right? And when we say value is the new currency, the before we start, right, I'll just like to do something, all right? And what I want us to do is I want us to write a note, okay, or just even it's not necessarily a note, right? Just scribble something in your book and just write when we mention value, what comes to your mind. All right. Reason why I'm saying this is that, for example, if I mention Ajegunle, there's something that comes to your mind. If I mention Abuja, there's something that comes to your mind. If I mention VI, there's something that comes to your mind. If I mention Ikoyi, there's something that comes to your mind. All right. And if I mention Dubai, there's a picture that comes to your mind. So right now, before we commence the meeting or before we continue, what comes to your mind when I say value? All right, so I want you to scribble that down. Okay, just scribble that down, even if it's just a mental picture. It doesn't have to be a two sentences or something. It might just be two words. Okay, what's the word that comes to you when we say value? Reason why I'm saying this is that so that at the end of the meeting you can take have a reflection. All right, as the meeting consolidated your idea of value, or as the meeting giving you a new perspective to work upon. All right. Because if you're able to do that, if there's a new perspective to work upon on your previous idea, then I think it's going to bring it makes you more productive, and it makes the meeting more productive for you rather than just coming listening and I attended a webinar, pick one or two words and you go. All right. So or pick maybe one or two words that you put on your status and go. So that's not the goal. The goal is what is improvement. All right. So if there is a word, if we talk about value, what comes to your mind when we say value? Okay. So at the end of the meeting, I want you to reflect again and see, has there been something that's been consolidated in my idea of value? Or is there an aspect of value that I seem to know, but it's not being re-emphasized, it's not being echoed, but through this meeting, that idea of value has been re-echoed. Okay. Or is this idea of value is totally different, okay, from the idea of value that I have. Okay. So that's the essence why I'm saying that we should just scribble one thing. You might put it on your phone, on your notes or something. Just scribble to what value. What does value mean to you? All right, Kingsley, I don't know if you can. There's a question also like an icebreaker question. Or I just want to ask some, just for us to get to interact, right? And when some of those questions comes in, all right, can you share the screen of the this thing, please? Or do you want me to share from my end? Okay, great. So we can go to the icebreaker question, right? Kingsley, if you can go to the icebreaker question on this slide. Okay, I think is, let me see if I could just share from my own. Okay, yeah, great. So we could go to the second slide, right? So in this place, it says that when you hear the word value, what is the first, and I want us to make use of the chart, right? I'll try to look at the chart here. So when you hear the word value, what's the first word that comes to your mind? I've said you should scribble something down, but I'm just giving you, a this just like a option. It doesn't have to be correct, right? It's not about whether it's correct or wrong. It's just for us to, kickstart something. So when we say value, yeah, what's the first word that comes to your mind? There's trust, there's impact, there's money, there's knowledge. So I want us to make use of the chat. All right. So I'll be looking at the chat and see what we are saying here. So please let's make use of the chat. Uh, so what comes to your mind when you say value? What's the first word that comes to your mind, guys? All right. Is it trust? Is it impact? Is it money? Is it knowledge? If it's none of this, you can put something different entirely on the chart. Okay. Something of importance. Thank you, Joseph. Something of importance. Success. All right. Chukudi, thank you. Success. Okay. Great. Something of importance. Any other person? Do we have any takers? Impact. Great. Impact. Impact. Great. Great. Something outstanding. All right. Great. Something money. Great. That's interesting. Money. Yeah, great. Yes. Which is very important. Immeasurable advantage. Ah, that's a great word. Immeasurable advantage. Great. Great. Um, Thank you, Sir Godwin. This is a special person that is in the meeting. And Sir Godwin is someone that is has a lot of value. So great. Jessica says knowledge. Great. Knowledge. All right. So let's go to the next icebreaker question here. So if money disappeared tomorrow, what would people still come to you for? So for example, we know that you can you can have money. For example, for those that have read this new book that I think Otedola just released, right? And I think there was a part in this thing when he was in debt, and he was in debt with most of the banking sectors. I think UB, Access, GT, and you are, let's say, or for example, let me not say you're not, let's say you're not $10, you have money, you have an asset, you have a land, and the government comes and says that, oh, this was wrongly acquired, so we are taking over the land, or this is a government property, and you are laid off your job. All right, so you do have money. Let's say you are broke in that moment. What would people still come to you for? Okay. What would people still come to you for? If you had no money, what would people still come to you for? Would they come for your knowledge, counsel, advice? Would they come for your skills or expertise? Would they come for you for your relationships, connection? Would they come to you for your so Chukudi says for my creativity? That's good. Good. Some say advice. Someone says solutions. Great. Great. So the reason one of the reason why we say this is that we're using these questions so that you can reflect. Knowledge, great. Creativity, lovely. Okay, so we'll just go straight into what we are going to discuss about. So we're going to be discussing about value. And like I said, I don't think value has a particular word. We can all have different definition for it. We can say value is impact. We can say value is, like Sir Godwin said, immeasurable advantage. Some can say value is, having wealth. Okay. Some can even say value is synonymous to success, right? So if I'm successful in my field, if I'm at the top of my career, then I'm valuable. All right. Someone that is on top of their career is valuable. Someone that is has wealth, has money, the money can be impactful. That's also a form of value, right? But value, like I said, I would like to say is, or would like to establish is, a lot of times we tend to interpret or use value from the aspect of just money. Okay. And I want us to go beyond that value is not just when you have money. Value is beyond that. All right. Value is you making impact. Value is you maybe providing a solution. Value is, all those things that you do make you valuable. You can say those things that you do makes you valuable. But there are other things about value that is just beyond what you do or what you have. And I think that's the aspects that we are really going to emphasize in this meeting. Okay. In the slides, right? I think I mentioned something that value can come from a lot of things, even from experiences, okay, from relationship. So, for example, your network can make you very valuable. All right. There are some people that what they have, okay, is their network. For example, we know we are now in an age where people talk about social capital. Okay. In this age, particularly in the internet age, in the global age, the currency that people will emphasize is not just the monetary currency, all right, is social currency. Okay, I think I was speaking with someone recently, and he said when Dangote was going to build the refinery, it wasn't just money that made him do that. Of course, there are a lot of people that had money, okay, but there was something that he had beyond money that was able to give him that courage. So one of the things he was able to pull is not just money; he was also able to pull on his social capital. All right, so value is not just about what you have in terms of money. Okay, it can also be in terms of the people you have. All right. So social capital is an aspect of value. All right. Even some experiences that you go through. All right. What those experiences can bring value to you. Okay, it's just like saying someone that I think I was listening to I can't remember who I was listening to, and it was no, she was a she. It's one of these top US ladies, right? And she said she was at the lowest level of her life, right? And that experience where she had nothing, she was in the lowest level of her life. That experience that she had a moment where she could not give her children, her son, provide sustenance for her son, and she made a decision and said, you know what, this will be the lowest moment I'll ever be in my life. And from that moment, something changed. So even an experience, it might be a bad experience, can become very valuable. Okay. And so what I'm saying that is that so that we can be able to reflect. So sometimes some of the experiences that you have you can turn into something valuable to you. Okay. It doesn't just have to be something, that you are doing, even the experiences that you have, if you can reflect on those experiences, right? Those experiences can become valuable. Okay. Certain relationships that you have from the last 2 years, right? Or last 2 or 3 years, one of the things I've been emphasizing on is creating um creating networks with people. So for example, if I there's businesses I've done with people or someone, oh, there's a business and this and this, come and invest in this. And as much as possible, I don't just want to invest, I want to connect with them. All right. Why? Because I'm doing that to create a value. I'm not just saying, oh, I want something that will give me money. I think recently one of my friends sent me a message that there's a stuff that some you and a couple of guys were doing, right? A very nice project. I probably won't talk about it here, right? A very nice project, right? And I really love the project, right? It's almost like a social housing and all those things. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm really to see how we can be a part in this thing. But I went ahead, you know, this person that is into this thing, I would like to have a one-on-one conversation with him and all those things to create that friendship. What am I doing? I'm creating value from relationships. Okay. So there are people, people will come into you. You might be at your workplace, all right, and you are working with someone, that is doing something. All right. If you can create that connection with that person, what you have done is that you are creating a form of value. So I don't just want us to see value as when you have money in your pocket or when you have money in your bank account. When Otedola was in debt, he doesn't, yes, he was in debt. All right. In fact, many of these multi-millionaires and all those things, all these for this, a lot of them were always experienced debt at one point in their life, right? I think Trump has gone into bankruptcy twice, right? Um, I don't know of Bill Gates, but I know of Trump has gone into bankruptcy. I'm sure Kiyosaki would have experienced. Many of these guys, they've lived with debts, all right? They've lived on debts and all those things, but it doesn't stop their value. Why? Because their value is not just tied to money, all right? If their value was just tied to money, when they are in debt, they are not valuable again, all right? Or some of these guys, like during the 2008 recession, world recession, right? Many of these companies, okay, they were in serious debt. Okay. Um, I think recently, because sometimes I buy stocks and all those things with some of my guys. So we go through company stocks, right? And some of these top companies, when we go to those period of 2006, 2007, 2008, we see how significant, drop in their net income in that sense. But that didn't stop them, to still be, to still be among the giants in their sector, in their field. Why? Because what they've created or their value is not just limited to monetary. Okay, their value is beyond that. Connections is that. So I'm just saying that value is not just when you have money. Value is not just even what you do. Value is the people, the experiences, okay, that you have. All right. And there's something also I would like to talk about is, when we talk about value, a lot of times we often see value as visibility. Okay. And it's not, and there's a truth in that, because there's a aspect of value that comes with visibility. Okay. But we are now in an age where everybody wants to be visible. Okay. Everybody wants to be visible. And it's understandable that everybody wants to be visible. I remember when I was reading a book, right? And when they first started this radio, I think when they first produced radio, when they made radio, right? And one important person rose and said that the world is already chaotic, okay, and we're creating radio, that the world is going to be more chaotic. And so I was just reflecting that I could imagine if the man could look at what the world would become, how he was going to describe the world. If just having a radio in that time, he could describe the world as going to be very chaotic. But he has some sense of truth in that, right? In the sense that we are now in a world where everything is more disruptive than it was. Okay. The world is more disruptive. Okay. But there is a lot of advantage in that. For example, because the world is very disruptive, okay, if you are going to be known, do you understand? If you want access in certain aspects of your life, you must be very visible. Okay. I also say something that people would say, that we know that the attention span of a lot of people are very short. So you must always be there. Okay. So that's why these days you see a lot of people, they are doing, they give a lot into advertising and all those things, because we know the world is disruptive. Visibility is very important. Visibility is very important. But there is I won't say an error, but there is something we can mistake for value. We can call that visibility. So in the sense that when you tell people, for example, why do you want to be rich, or why do you want to have a lot of money? People can tell that, oh, so that I can, I can get my purchasing power. So if I go out, in the society, I'll be well respected. Okay. I can go for vacation, I can also go to Dubai anytime, put on my gram, So when you ask them value, wealth, what is the visible part of those things, okay, that people really love. Do you understand? Is that visibility part of value that a lot of people really desire? Okay. But value is beyond that. Okay. Value is beyond just that visibility. Value is beyond just that visibility. So, for example, I'm a medical doctor. A lot of us, when we started medicine, there's this in that time, right? In that time, of course, things have changed now. That time, medicine was noble. It's still noble, right? Still noble, but there was that prestige that he had those days than the prestige he had then. So a lot of people went into medicine. Oh, you will make money, all those things. Though they will tell you that you help people, but there's that nobility that comes with it. All right. Now, if in those days a lot of people, they tell them that there won't be nobility, you save lives, you'll be comfortable, but the nobility part is not going to be there. For adventure, most of the people that you know decided to do medicine probably will not do medicine. Okay. And it's more evident. I'm in the practice, I know, okay, because it's more evident when you talk with people and that expectation is not met. Of course, they are saving lives, but the expectation that they had when they were a child, their childhood expectation, all right, or the nobility, the comforts, the this thing, and they realize that it's not there, there's that complaining, there's that lack of fulfillment in that sense, right? So there's that aspect of value. So in those days, when we say, oh, you want to do medicine, is good, though it's valuable. But what a lot of people love is not just that the value of being a doctor, is the visibility, of being a doctor. All right. So, and that applies to a lot of, our life. Is it really value that you want, that you love, that you are chasing, or is it the visibility that you are chasing? If you know what I mean. All right. So, but like I said, value, when I say value is not visibility, I'm not saying that value doesn't bring visibility. All right. What I'm saying is that Value is not all about visibility, but if you are valuable, value will always comes with visibility. Do you get what I'm saying? If you have value, you will be visible. All right. But you can be visible, okay, and not be valuable, if you know what I mean. So rather than just chasing visibility, what you should chase is how to become valuable, if you know what I mean. How to become valuable. And I'm going to give this instance, this example. For those that have been seeing some of our um, design, right? The design was by, a seed, all right? When you plant a seed, okay, when you plant a seed, when I was younger, um, I think I was in, I don't know, I'm not sure if it was in primary school where we lived, right? The flat we lived, right? There was a backyard, and it was quite a big compound. So sometimes if you just throw water and all those things, maybe pepper or something, these things just start growing, I remember those period where I think maybe it's close to rainy season. We used to plant maize, right? So I plant maize, I have one corner there, I can remember, right? And in a week you start seeing, I think in a week or 2 weeks, you start seeing the maize, you start seeing the offshoot of the maize, right? You start seeing the sorry, excuse me. Okay. So you start seeing the offshoot of the maize in 1 week, 2 weeks. Okay. Now, the question is, if you're looking at this picture, right? This is something about visibility. This is, if you look at the first picture, the first image, right? There's the seed here, right? When you just plant the seed, and there's the second picture where the seed starts breaking through, and there is that place where the seed starts taking root, and from that root of that seed, the seed start growing forth what? An offshoot, okay? An offshoot, and that offshoot starts becoming a stem, and it starts growing into the plant that is to be. Now, this is something about visibility. What a lot of us desire, or what a lot of us like, or what we often call as value, is that first two images that we have seen, right? The 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 offshoot, right, and the plant it is becoming. All right, that is the visibility part. That's what we always like when we talk about value. We always mistake value to just be that aspect, right? But there's a very important part that a lot of people miss. They miss this aspect of when that seed is beneath the ground. They miss that aspect of when that seed is breaking forth. They miss that aspect of when that seed is growing into what? Into a root. They miss that aspect of when that root, is taking form. All right. And the funny thing is that the extent which that this visible part is going to be sustained is dependent on how long, all right, this root is going to take form. For example, if you plant a palm tree, okay, you will not see the offshoot of palm tree very soon as you will see the offshoot of a maize. You will see the offshoots within weeks, right? Sometimes days, depending on the season. But for palm tree, you will not see the offshoots, you will not see stem in 2 weeks. Why? Because the longevity of the maize is going to be like, it's just a month or 2 months. All right. But the longevity, all right, of a palm tree, okay, is going to be years, many years. So because it's going to be many years, what is going to happen beneath this ground is very, very important, and that will take lots of longer time than for the maize. So a lot of us, what we do is that we chase visibility. We want visibility. Okay, visibility is good. It's part of value. All right, but if we don't focus, all right, if we don't focus on this first part of building a route, establishing a route, and we go after just visibility, there are two things that will either happen. Okay, the visibility will not last long. All right, the visibility will not last long because it's either, and we can see that in the lives of people. If you look, if I'm just saying personal lives now. You will see people that you say they came into limelight and they will left almost immediately. All right, it's also with businesses. You see some businesses, They come, the more as they come into the public, when people appreciate, before you know it, they are out again. All right. But you will see certain people, they have this longevity, you know, they have longevity with success. It's not just, they were not just a one time, one star. Do you get what I'm saying? All right. They've been doing this for years and they've, withstand the times, the policies, the situation, the hard times. Why? Because they've established a root within them. Okay. So, for example, now, many of us grew up hearing the name Dangote. And I know our parents also, maybe they were not growing up hearing the name Dangote, but they started hearing the name Dangote. Okay. And most likely, some of us, while, if you're in the generation and you're in that childbearing age, your children will probably still be hearing the name Dangote. Okay. Yes, you can say, oh, Dangote comes from a very wealthy family. There are a lot of people that come from a wealthy family, but they don't have longevity of name the way Dangote has. Why? 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 Because the reason why it can have this longevity is because of the roots, all right? Because of the roots, not just because of the visibility. So my point here is that value, there are two aspects of value. The two aspects of value is the innate aspect of value, and there's the aspect of value that is the perceived aspect of value. Okay. So and I was talking about it, which is the most important. All right. Both are important. I won't say equally important, right? Both are important, but the most important aspect of value is that innate value, is that intrinsic value. Another way I would say it is this: the first aspect of value is how you are relating with yourself. Okay. Is in relation with you. The second aspect of value is in relation with others. Okay. The first aspect of value is in relation with yourself. The second aspect of value is in relation with others. All right. So that means, okay, and that's why visibility comes. Okay. And that's what a lot of people want to do. Why? Because if I'm a valuable person, this is what people will say about me. Oh, if I'm a valuable person, this is how people will respect me. So there's that aspect of value that comes with how you relate with people. Okay, how you relate with the society, how the society perceives you. Okay, but there's an aspect of value that is how you relate with yourself, how you see yourself. Okay, how you perceive yourself. Okay, okay, how you, for example, I was reading, for those that are read the Emmy's book. I think you read it this year, Shift, and there was an aspect of his book that he said that I think he mentioned that I'm trying to remember the story. I think there was a conspiracy that was looming around him in that time, and I think he had to leave Nigeria. I think he left Nigeria during that period or something, or it was not in Nigeria at that time. So, but it was just a funny story, coming up, maybe accusation and things like that. He didn't go into details of what it was. Okay, but in that moment, okay, if all is life, all right, is just built, all is value is just built on the second aspect of value, how people perceive him. When people start perceiving you wrongly, okay, when people start perceiving you wrongly, okay, and if that's what your root is, most likely you go into extinction, okay. And that's why, for example, you and I might not like, you and I might praise Dangote, but many people don't like him, all right. Yeah, and people are saying, people will come out say stuff, things, it's one of the people that is spelling Nigeria. If the value that is building is just based on how the world perceives him or how Nigerians perceives him, okay, it will not be in longevity in his business, okay. Likewise, Trump, likewise, Elon Musk. For example, people say, oh, Tesla is a good company to invest in. But amongst a lot of investors, there are still a lot of people that have divided opinion about the person of Elon Musk. But that doesn't stop him to keep doing neural links, because to keep doing working on his prosthetics, to still keep working on Tesla, to keep, despite the divided opinion. People might say, oh, this guy is one of these, this thing is a rash person, he's not, he's not someone you can do business with. People will have different opinions. For example, Jobs. People said if you work with him, he's not a very cool person. He's very creative, but is relationship with people. Now, but these people, despite all these things, all right, they are able to still excel in their personal life and in their own space. The reason is that their value is not built based on how the people perceive them, all right, or how the society perceive them, all right. Yes, with value, there will come some visibility, there will come some relationship with people, all right. There will come appreciation, people will appreciate your work, people will appreciate what you have become, okay. But if all you are building is just that visibility, if all you are focused on is just that visibility, then you most likely will not be able to end, you will not have longevity. And if we talk about value, I think we must always talk about longevity because, for example, okay, for example, um, um, let me say this now. Nokia three what's that Nokia phone that we were using when that first came out? Is it 3360? I can't remember that. Is this popular
That's
Nokia
good.
that's
That's
what do you
good.
call it? 3310.
That's
Ah, yes. Yoruba we used to call it Ojaboko for. Have phone from story video, that phone will still be working. Now, you know, that phone in that time, okay, was valuable. But if I tell you that is 3310 still valuable now, you will say no. It doesn't have because it doesn't have longevity. Yes, in that period of time, it was almost like the best thing. For example, someone give you in 2005 3310 or sorry 2001 3310, man, you almost worship the person. Thank you, sir. You the praise, the thanksgiving, the appreciation, you will like the person has done something marvelous to you. But if somebody gives you 3310, you probably will stone the person. Why are you insulting me? What's that? You get what I'm saying? Why will you? No, 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 no. All right, is this a joke? you know is this a joke? Why? Because it doesn't have longevity again. All right. So when we talk of value, we must also look at longevity. We must look at long term, right? And that's why when you are saying you want to be valuable, always think of long term. Okay. When you are saying that I want to be a valuable person in the next 10 years, okay, the person that you will become, all right, will you be happy with that person? Will that person still be relevant in the next 20 years? Okay, so think about longevity. This is how these people think. They think about longevity. Okay, they think about there's a book I'm reading on Dubai, and I could see, of course, and there's something to say is if it is good for business, it is good for Dubai. Okay, but one thing these guys think is, or the way these people think is that they think about years to come. They think about policies that will be positive in the next. Of course, there's the short-term policies, that here and there, but most of their this thing regulation is years to come, years to come. So when we're also thinking of value, don't always think of short term. Think about many years to come. All right. So now, when we talk about value, it's something I put on my status today, and I'll just contemplate and I'll say, if we talk about value, there is the aspect of becoming of doing, of having. That's what a lot of us see. For example, somebody comes into this party now, you're having a party and somebody drives in with the latest, excuse me, with the latest Rolls Royce. Like, this person must see, well, this person must be an important person. Okay. Why? Because you have judged that person, you judge the value of that person by what the person have. Okay, you judge the value of that person by or what they do. So if somebody comes and say, I'm a CEO of UBA, or I'm a managing director of a startup company, or this. Oh, you say, oh man, you guys are a tech company. Oh, you guys are doing well. I'm the branch manager or country lead of IBM in the whole of West Africa. By position, you say that person is valuable. All right. So there's that place where we judge the people value by what they do, what they have. But beyond what they do and what they have, you should always judge people of by value by who they've become. Right. So I would say value is first becoming. Okay. Then after that, having and doing. Okay. Value is first becoming. All right. And so when you look at this picture here, and I'm going to bring scripture, all right, because I'm a believer. A lot of things I bring are from scriptures. You know, um, Jesus said something. He said, as long as a seed, okay, if a seed does not, as he said, when you plant a seed, If that seed does not die, it will remain alone. Okay, so that means for the seed to bring forth many seeds, okay, then that seed must be planted, because if that seed is not planted and buried, that seed will remain alone. Okay, so it is necessary, and of course, he used that in the context of his own death and burial and all those things, which I'm not going to. But the context of taking that scripture out of just context of what he was speaking of and bringing it to this scenario is that if the seed does not experience that place of death, okay, then it cannot be valuable. Okay, now, and that experience of death, okay, of the seed is the experience of the seed becoming or coming to the full potential of what they can become. All right. Everything that the tree will become is within that seed. And that seed, this tree can only become that depending on the kind of roots it has, established within itself. So when that seed is under the ground, what is that seed doing? That seed is becoming. So the first aspect of value, or the most important in chemistry, when we used to do all these rate, there are some steps. You see that there are some steps they will call rate limiting step. For those that are chemical, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm still correct. There's a rate limiting step. That step is very important. There are some steps that are not important, but there are some steps like that step must happen. So if you are going to become valuable, you must, if you are going to be a valuable person in the society, valuable, you irrespective, whether in your family or something, I don't know. What you must first do, or the most important aspect of that value is what? Becoming. Right? That's what we call the intrinsic or the innate value. Okay. And when I mean the intrinsic, I don't mean you are born with it. I don't mean, oh, for example, there's some people that are born into a world, because of that we say they are valuable. That's not what I mean by the intrinsic or the innate value. I mean that aspect of becoming. Okay, that aspect of substance is another with substance. Okay, is building substance. Okay, so that aspect of value is what you should first work on. Okay, if you say that, oh, I want to become valuable, I want to be valuable, the first thing you should think about is the substance becoming that thing. For example, I was listening to someone, I was listening to a speaker, and he said something, that there are certain people that they desire to be in certain spaces. Okay, they desire to be in certain spaces. All right, but they will never get to that space. Okay, if they have not yet become the person fit for that space. All right. So, for example, if you say that, oh, I want to be today, I want to become the president of Nigeria. Okay. If you have not yet become, it's not until you become the president of Nigeria, okay, that you become that. All right. I don't know what it means to be the president of Nigeria. I don't know what it means to be the president of a country, but I know that not any random person can be that. All right. It doesn't even have to have money to become that. There are certain things that you must have, okay, that you must have become. If you have not become that person, you cannot be in that space. So there are certain space, all right, that a lot of us are desiring, all right. But if you have not become that person fit for that space, you will never be in that space. Some of us want to say, I want to be a big time investor that can be investing in $1 million. All right. If you have not first become that person that can handle the loss of $1 million, you most likely will not be fit to be there. I was listening to Emmanuel, Dr. Emmanuel, um, forgotten his Olumide Emmanuel, and he was saying something. He was talking about something about transformation. And he said something. He said, if you will be a million naira person, you must be able to come to that place where you have the appetite to lose a 1 million naira. If you say you're going to have to be a 100 million naira or person, you must have grown to that stature where if you lose 100 millions or hundreds in million, you will not go into a station. If you are someone that would say that you are going to be successful as a billion, if you lose a 1 billion naira, all right, you must be that person that you will not go into institution. Okay, so there are certain spaces that if you want to come into, okay, it's not until you have that money, okay, that you would or you enter into that space that you have become that you become valuable in that space. It is before getting to that space, you must first become that person that is valuable to handle that space. All right, to handle that space. So, for example, now I don't want to be using a lot of. Okay, let me use this scriptural um, story, right? For example, Joseph. Joseph, we all know that Joseph he had already had a vision that he was going to be a top person. Okay, all right, he's going to be a leader. Okay, but the day he received that vision, all right, he never, it wasn't the time. It wasn't the next year he became that he became that leader. All right. It wasn't the next 2 years he became the prime minister. Okay. Why? Because he doesn't have the capacity to handle that position. All right. And so during his process, okay, he needed to go through many processes to be able to become a prime minister. Because as a prime minister, you must lead people. So while he was in Potiphar's house, right, what was he doing? They said he was the head of what? Potiphar household. So in Potiphar's wife, he was learning what? What was he learning? He was learning he was learning leadership. So just imagine it was in Potiphar's house, he learned what it means to be an Egyptian. Because if you are going to be a leader, you know, a prime minister in Egypt, then you must understand Egyptian rules. So while he was in Potiphar's house, he was learning leadership. Do you get what I'm saying? He was understanding how to lead. He was understanding the laws, the principles, okay, as of an Egyptian man, because Egypt is a strange land to him. So in the house of Potiphar, there was a form of preparation that was happening there. He was learning, he was building his leadership skills. Maybe he wasn't going. Maybe Potiphar might send him to go and do some courses to be the household of. I'm just saying, as maybe if it was in this day, okay, the Potiphar would have sent him, oh yeah, go and take this practice. Go and do this. Go and represent. So he probably also represents Potiphar in some meeting when Potiphar is not around. Speak on behalf of, and there is learning the tongues, the languages of the Egyptians. All right. So it wasn't just that from prison God now say, oh, you are prime minister. No, there was a process of him becoming that prime minister. So while he was in Potiphar's house, he was learning leadership. After that, what did he do? He went into prison. Do you get what I'm saying? From there, he started interpreting. He learned how to, of course, we know he has always known being an having dreams, but we never knew him as someone that could interpret dreams. He had dreams. He wasn't the one that interpreted his dream. Because if he had understood the dream, he wouldn't have told his brother. He would have understood that this is what this means. So he was not an interpreter of dreams. And we never knew him as that. But it was in the prison that we knew that he now understood how to interpret dreams. He was a dreamer boy. He was not the interpreter of dreams. But it was in the prison learned how to interpret dreams. So now um, uh, when he becomes a prime minister, that interpretation, he now understands, he can now implement it in government. Okay, he learns government under Potiphar, whether we like it or not. You must say Potiphar was a blessing, okay, to him. Do you get what I'm saying? All right, so he learns leadership in the house of Potiphar. All right, now, so likewise, while he was in the okay, and he became the prime minister, him to do that, there must be a level of forgiveness that he must have for the Egyptians. Now, that forgiveness that he learned, he has not learned it in that process. When his brothers who sold him to slavery came, essence, I'm just telling you that we could see this young man that had a dream, okay, that had a vision. But before he became that vision, of the prime minister and he can fulfill the main purpose, all right, there were processes that led to that because he was becoming that man that was fit for that. Okay, because it wasn't just the prime minister or second to the prime minister of in Egypt, it was also a preserver of what Israel. All right, because if Jacob and his sons had died because of famine, all right, then there won't be the Israel. So beyond him being the prime minister, it was to preserve the nation of Israel. So he's not just a prime minister, he was also a preserver. It was to preserve a culture. Okay. So the point here is that he learned those things or he become those things through his experiences. And that's why I said that so why that even your experiences are going to be valuable. They are, I'll call it the connections of value. Do you get what I'm saying? They're like the connection dots of value. So sometimes you might be going to, you might be in a business and you've given everything to it, and all of a sudden you were, all of somebody pulls out and you feel betrayed. That process is not good. But if you can reflect on that process can become a means of the of value that you will become. Okay, the betrayal of Joseph by his brother was an important aspect of his life that would lead him to the valuable man that he was going to become. So even your experiences becomes a means of value, not just your good experiences, your bad experiences. Okay, him being under the in the house of Potiphar, relationship, all right, relationship, all right. While he was there, how did they know that he could interpret the dream? Probably must have been doing that. He must have created that, network there that there's one servant in Spotify. He's very good with dreams. Oh, now that you have dream in the prison, go and meet him. All right. So there was relationship in that place. When that guy was also going, that interpreted, I said that, oh, in the next 7 days you will become this. He said that when you get to this thing, remember me. What was that? Social capital. Okay, that's what social capital. So when they were looking for someone that could interpret, that person said, "Oh, capital." So in that place, what did Joseph was able to pull on? He was able to pull upon his social capital, his relationship, his networking. Okay, so when we talk about value, okay, value is a whole lot of things. Okay, your experiences, your relationship, your social capital. Okay, your social capital. I want us to, Kingsley, can you just open to this slide? Thank you. Great. So yeah, there's we might talk about this. Just looking at our time. Okay, so I will just talk about this briefly. Okay, yeah, let's go to the next slides. So I want you to, a quick question. All right, quick question. Let's see. Quick question. I want to do a question. Is there going to be a gift for people that will answer this? Now, can you put the man by, if you're looking at the screen, the man by the topmost left, can anybody recognize who this man is? The man by the topmost left. If you have an idea of who the person is, just do a guess. Somebody has a guess. Okay, all right. Yes, you can go ahead.
I want to guess Nikola Tesla.
Nikola Tesla. Any other guess? You can put your guess if you are trying to say any to write. You can type on the chat box. The chat box, I can see it. So that's not Nikola Tesla. But I thank you for that. Who can guess who that is? Rockefeller. John D. So John D. Rockefeller. Great. So that's John D. Rockefeller. Now, somebody has got, which is right. Is there any other person that can tell me who, John D. Rockefeller is? You can put it in the chat box or something. When you hear John D. Rockefeller, what comes to your mind? Somebody saying John F. Kennedy. Okay. Oh, no, so no, sorry, not John F. That's John D. Rockefeller. What comes to your mind? Okay, so we know that's one of the weirdest philanthropists. Someone say he was one of the wealthiest American of all time. Correct. So he's still the word is where people say he's the wealthiest American that ever lived, right? John Rockefeller. So right. So we know him as, he's also one of the philanthropists. I see the Rockefeller Foundation and all those things. Okay. And their family has always rich. There's this trust that he does, that's almost like these words can never end. Okay, so that's John D. Rockefeller. Another trivia question here. So who is the person, the guy beside the automobile? Who knows, have an idea of who this person is? Picture is not so clear. in the chat box? Does anybody have an idea who this is? Someone said Ryan. Ryan who? Let me give you an hint. The picture by his side is an hint of who he is. That's a vehicle. Can somebody guess?
I want to guess Henry Ford.
Thank you. So that's Henry Ford. Thank you. So that's Henry Ford. Thank you. So that's Henry Ford. All right. Great. That's one of the person that made automobile very accessible in certain class. Okay. But Henry Ford say that, you know what, even the middle class can have what, access to vehicles, and Henry Ford brought his idea. So that's Henry Ford. Okay. And you must know the Ford Motors as vehicles. So that's the person. Okay. The person by the right, who can guess who this is? The person by the right. Let's take a guess. Anyone? Any takers? Any takers? None? No one? Anyone? The person by the extreme right? No one. So that's Andrew Carnegie. Okay, Andrew Carnegie. So if I say Andrew Carnegie, what comes to your mind? What comes to your mind? Andrew Carnegie, what comes to your mind? Okay, so that's we call him the father of steel industry in America. All right, the father of steel industry in America. Okay, so he was first into rail company and all those things because he grew under Thomas Scott, right? Then he went into steel and all those things. And when the urbanization of America was happening, he had this idea of steel. All right, so and that's when he started these skyscrapers. So it's most of his steel that they used in building skyscrapers in America. All right, so that's Andrew Carnegie. The last person here beneath John D. Rockefeller. Okay, that's the guy by the left beneath, right? Who can guess? Who can guess this person? Should there be a prize for this person? Anyone that guess this? Anyone that can give a wide guess? Give you 10K. All right, going, going, going. So that's JP Morgan, right? JP Morgan. So JP Morgan is one of the top guys, right? So JP Morgan, that's the one of the founder of JP. You see JP Morgan and Chase back in industry. Why did I do this? Very important. Okay. I want you guys to an assignment from here. I don't have necessarily assignments. This is not a school, but I'd like you guys to go and there is a movie I want you guys to watch. All right, I don't think it's on Netflix, so I don't even think you'll see it on this thing. So if you go on YouTube, if you type the men who built America, you'll see pieces and bits about them. Okay, reason why I'm saying that is there are a lot of things for you to learn from these people. Of course, there are some of the things that they did. Okay, particularly when they were because they are very competitive. They seem to. There's one other guy that is not here amongst yeah, these are the major guys really. Yeah, these are the major guys. The other guy was a bit above their age. So, but these are the major guys, right? But the is to see how these people were able to transform their life and how their impact was able to define the nation of America. All right. These four guys, okay, were able to define, okay, because they had an idea. All right. They were able to believe into it. Yes, they followed their profits, they became wealthy in the process. Okay. But what they did in that time, what they became in that time, is what the America that we're enjoying. The reason why you say, oh, I want to go to America, I want to go to America, if this guy never existed, if these guys were never bold enough, all right, to do what they wanted, to become valuable, okay, to change their person, Okay, if these guys were never bold enough to do that, we will not be enjoying the America that we have today. All right, we will not have the America that we have today. Today, we know America is one of the world powers. We know America, if you know, if you trade stock, they'll tell you that there's stock, US stock 500, right? You know, why? Because these people make industrialization in America very productive. All right, very attractive. It was because of these guys. If these guys had not laid down those foundations today, you cannot be investing in S&P 500. Right? What I'm saying that is that they made industrialization in America was attractive. They were not the only ones in those days, all right? There's still the Vanderbilt, you know, there's still some other guys in this, particularly in the steel industry that I probably will not mention here. But these guys and those their peers in those times, their competitors, right? They were the one that made industrialization in America. So you can see how a few bold people can change the narrative, all right? Of course, apart from that, it's not just them. There's also the politics of America that also made like the Theodore Roosevelt, the John Graham. All right, these guys, okay, made America industrialization attractive. Okay, so it's a movie that you guys can watch. You don't need to watch it full. Just take it bits and pieces, learn, you know, from it. See one or two things that you can pick from them and you can learn. This one, there's no money in this one. One knows who is by the topmost right. Topmost right. Any other triv? This is just a trivia question. All right. Just a time for us to anyone, any takers.
Jeff Bezos,
Jeff Bezos. Good, 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 good. Who is by the left?
Elon Musk,
Okay, and then you're the only one answering. Okay, I don't believe you now. Next person. Who is the guy by the beneath, you know, on the right with the glasses? Bill Gates, okay. The other person, who is the other person? Oh my god. Timothy, do you want to give help them?
Mark Zuckerberg,
Mark Zuckerberg. Great. So if you guys don't know these people and you are on Facebook, you are this thing, man. All right, so all right, lovely. So now you know the funny thing. There's a reason why I wanted to. So I want us to go back, right? So I've shown you this. There were these guys in this time. These guys in this time. All right. But now I was talking about something that value evolves. Okay, value is value evolving. Value is evolving. All right. But like I said, value is in two things. There's the intrinsic. All right. There is the intrinsic aspect of value. There is the extrinsic aspect of value, the perceived aspect of value. Personally, in my opinion, right, people might say value evolves. I think that what actually evolves, okay, is the second aspect of what? Of value that evolves, okay? But the first aspect of value does you can go and read books on D. Rockefeller and you will apply it in your life and you realize that you will have tremendous change, okay? But the way they dealt with their own perception in those days, if you apply it now, you probably will fail. Okay, and the reason I was pointing that is, for example, if Rockefeller did business the way Bill Gates was doing business in his own time, he most likely will not be the richest. And if the business, the way Rockefeller did business in his time, he most likely will not. But why? Because the value perception in those days is different from the value perception. For example, in the, let's take from the 1990s, right? In the 1950s, we all know there was a massive change that was happening in the world. Okay, in the 1950s, this was the 1950s, 90s, yeah, 1950, 96, 1900. You know, that's the period of colonization. And in the 1950, 1960, 1970, what do we see? A lot of nations were becoming what? You know, getting their freedom from what? From their colonizers. Okay, that was also the period where countries were going into war, World War II, all those things was happening. Okay, Nigeria had its own civil war in 1960 or 1970. You know, there were wars in pockets. So in that time, all right, people call that time the industrial age. Another thing we can say, it was the age of stability. All right. Now, in the sense of stability, what is value in that time? Okay, what is value in that time is stability. The way people perceive value is for you to be stable. So in those days, if you have money, sorry, if you have a stable income, okay, if you have, like, for example, you're a teacher and you have a monthly income that is value to them in those days. If you're an industrial worker in those days, okay, all right, that's value to them, because in that time a lot of country or a lot of nations were just building up themselves. A lot of people were just recovering from war, all right, and there was what, it was just that period where everybody was looking for stability. So if you have a company that you're working for, that's stability, because you're having income, all right, you can feed your family, you can do that. If you go to school, but make sure you go to school and you come out and you're able to do business, or you're able to get a job, you are very valuable in the society. All right. But after that time, many decades after, 1980s, 1990s, things began to change. All right. People began to move from just having money, having income. All right. Many roles also started developing. In the 1950s, there's some job roles. Like in those, there's nothing like coding in 1950. All right. Nobody's coding anything. All right. There's no UI US developer. Do you get what I'm saying? So, but by the time we enter 1980s, people were recovering. There's some form of stability. So at that time, after we have moved from that form of, the the perception of value begins to also change. All right. So people started looking at, let's start building assets. All right. Let's start building houses. Do you get what I'm saying? Value began to change. So if you had a stable income, you are working as a teacher in that time, it was valuable 30 years ago in the 1950s, 1960s. In the 1980s, if you're a teacher, you're just an average person. You're not seen as a very valuable person in that sense. All right. If you come out of school, nothing differentiates you. Others are going to school that time. More roles are coming up. More courses are. Do you get what I'm saying? Unlike those days, why? The perception of value is beginning to change, because the perception of value is always changing with the society. All right. But in the 2000s, all right, value changed. That was the internet era. All right. The knowledge era, the internet era. All right. Value in that 1980s, all right, and value in 2000 is changing. In fact, value between 2000 and 2010 is different from the way people appreciate value in 2025 now. And I'm saying today that value in 2025 will be very different from the way we perceive value in 2050. All right. But the the, the main aspect of value, which is becoming, doesn't change. All right. But the second aspect of value will always change. All right. And that is why, even when you become a valuable person, you must give yourself to continuous improvement. I was listening to Bukawo Shikari's I think it was a few months ago, right? And she was saying something that, of course, we know she's at the top of her career, and she was saying how she is given to continuous learning. That she's just giving herself to continuous learning, continuous improvement. She said, if I don't do that, I will be left behind. And also, you're wondering why she said that she will be left behind. She's at the top of the banking industry. She's at the top of these things. Why? Because though she has become a person of value, she still needs to work on the perceived value. All right. She's a valuable person. She has an innate, if you call it Bukawa anywhere, all right, she's a valuable person. But why is she giving herself to continuous improvement? Is because she needs to work on the perceived value, all right, of herself. Because, like I said, the first aspect of value, of becoming valuable, is the way you interact with yourself. The second aspect of value is the way the world interacts with you. All right, is the way the world interacts with you. And that is why in this 2000 or 2010, there's something that is very important we call branding. Okay, so it's almost synonymous that the second aspect of value is branding, being visibility, being visible. Okay, why? Because it is now the way you interact with yourself, okay, with the outside world. For example, I and Timothy might be doing the same thing, okay, but if the society perceive Timothy as better than I am, then it will be in demand. Why? Because so even if I become valuable, I must now work upon the aspect of perceived value. Okay, I must work upon the aspect of perceived value. But if you are, but if you start with working about perceived value, all right, how people value you, how people see you, if that's all you are doing, in a short, your visibility will not last for a long time, because at the end of it, you will still fall back to that place of substance. All right, you will still fall to that place of substance just because of all right, we still fall back to that place of substance. So in the value, like I said, value is not statistic, it's not static, rather, okay? Value evolves, okay? But I have said the aspect of value that actually evolves is the second aspect of value, because that is the one that deals with the society. Our society is changing, all right? Society is changing, culture is changing, um, relationship is changing. In the 1990s, most of the relationship are local relationship, all right? But in this 2000, we are now in the age where there is international relationships, okay? Intercontinental relationship. So there is an exchange of culture. So society is rebranding itself. And so if you also will remain valuable in a society that is rebranding itself, you also must rebrand that perceived value. You must work on how that society will perceive you. Okay, though you might have become that person that is valuable, but you must keep working on what the aspect. For example, I've been following this person closely, and those that know, if you know, I was always asking myself, for example, if you know Stephen Akintayo, I've been following him closely, the founder of G-Test company in Nigeria. In Nigeria, he has in Dubai. I think he also has some partnership in the US, especially when he had this thing with TD Jakes and all those things, right? But I'm seeing what he's doing online. Ah, I'm like, what's this Baba doing online? We carry this thing, we do video. What is, you are already valuable. Why are you doing that? Why are you seemingly like you're trying to connect with the people? He is a valuable, he's in fact, I think he entered the Forbes list of the youngest billionaire before 40 in Nigeria. I think that's when he came into the Forbes list, one of the youngest billionaire before 40, you know. Well, that's, I think I was in school that period, right? I don't know, it probably might be beyond 40 now. But now I'm still seeing him, he's very active. Recently when Nigerian did this thing, okay, he invited this Rashidat, who is his mentee, they had a section, they put it on social media. Sometimes it comes on Instagram live, and you're seeing that. And why is this guy so involved? It's not that they are not valuable, but what are they doing? They are updating themselves, they are working on the perceived value. Re- Recently, many of you would have seen that if you are going on your timeline, you are seeing Cosmos Maduka, all right? One of the billionaires also in Nigeria, people having interviews, is doing this, is hosting this, is doing that. Why? Though the process of doing those things, they are working on their own perceived value. It doesn't mean they are already valuable. Anywhere, any country they enter, they are valuable. If they mention they are because those guys are valuable already. But why are they still putting more efforts? The reason why they are putting more efforts is that they are working on the perceived value, the value of the way the society perceives them. So you can be doing something great, you might be becoming valuable, great. There must, and that aspect is very important. That, in fact, like I said, the aspect of building, becoming, is always that aspect you don't like. I was listening to Cosmo, we all know he's the richest person, but do you know, is an Igbo man, right? And we all know the Igbo system, right? Where people do apprenticeship. Igbo will carry the younger brother. He spent 5.5 years with his uncle. He wasn't being paid, but those period was his own period of becoming. But today, Cosmo Maduka is a very great person. I want to be like him. But can you be that person that will stay for 5 years under tutelage, under mentorship? Even if you don't like the person's idea, can you stay under mentorship of someone for 5 years? Some of you, if you do mentorship for 1 year, you want to come out. You get what I'm saying? Yes, but these guys did for 5.5 years. He was doing, and this, if you know the way they do apprenticeship, guys, he has to be there before Oga comes. He would have cleaned, he will do this. When Oga comes, he give credits, okay, Oga don't come out. He continues the sales. He wasn't being paid. And when he goes back, he probably lives in a gas place, has maybe one cubicle. And he was doing that for 5.5 years. Now he's one of the most, that was saying that even not because of this thing, probably be way there than Dangote. which I probably might believe. Okay, all right, but what I'm saying here is that that is that his own process. He has had his process of becoming. All right. But now these guys are doing social media. They are coming on Instagram. They are holding meeting with this thing. He's holding this thing with Akintayo. They're having interview. In fact, recently Akintayo is doing something with Cosmos Maduka, where his son Ephraim is doing an interview, and they'll be doing it. The question, the Q&A. What are they trying to do? Is that Cosmos Maduka interacting, doing a question and answer with Ephraim, a young boy of 12 years old. He's connecting with that generation. All right. He's connecting with that generation because that generation will be able to perceive him. There's a way he's connecting with the society. So I'm saying that these guys have become, all right, but not only just become, they are also working on the perceived value, the way the society perceives them. Okay. So uh, let's go. So can you continue to the slide? Thank you. All right. I'm good. Thank you. So I said value is not static. We've spoken about this. Okay. So let's just move on. All right. Okay. So I want us to just stay on this place. These principles of becoming more valuable. Principles of becoming more valuable. And I was able to list, and I'll talk about them, but briefly talk about them so that we can bring the meeting to a close. Okay. Okay. There's the growth mindset, skill acquisition, mental toughness, continuous improvement, create a system for yourself, all right, of achieving goals, learn to say no. All right. And I'm going to talk about this learn to say no. Very important. It's an aspect of our life that a lot of people would actually be more valuable if they can know how to say no. Okay. So, but the first thing is growth mindset. We've always had this thing of um the scarcity mindset or the abundance mindset, right? And you realize that when it comes to through the books, right? I won't say I'm a big reader of books, right? I read books, okay. But I'm not saying that I definitely we can still improve on my book reading, but I read books, okay. So what I'm saying is that um I have come to realize that many of these guys, they when it comes to changing the aspects of their life, all right, or when they are transforming into a better version of themselves, it always starts with mindset. Even if you listen to them, there's no top guy, either motivational speaker, either a business person. All these guys will talk about mindset. All right, how we start with a mindset. Okay, talk. For example, Robert Kiyosaki, when he wrote his book, I used to tell people that the Robert Kiyosaki book, okay, is Robert Kiyosaki book is there's this book Robert Kiyosaki wrote, Rich Dad and Poor Dad. Okay, Rich Dad and Poor Dad, nice book. Okay, it will not necessarily give you financial rules. In fact, some of the financial rules and principles it did there might not apply to you. Okay, but there is something in that book, okay, that is vital. And if you have gotten that, you have gotten what the book is all about. It's all about mindset. Everything he was saying is mindset. How the poor dad is mindset. Okay, how the rich dad is mindset. So if you want to recommend book that, you want to somebody that say I'm starting my financial journey, one of the books that people will highly recommend to people is to give Rich Dad Poor Dad. Why? Is to help them change their mindset. Change their mindset. If you want to become valuable, all right, that value must first start within your mind. All right. And why is it important to change your mindset about something? Is because it is when you must first see yourself as that person. Okay. You must first see yourself as that person. All right. If you cannot improve your own perceived image, okay, you cannot become that outward image. If you have not worked on your own perceived image, you cannot become that outward image. So a lot of us desire the outward image of the billionaire, this thing. All right, I want to be a billionaire, or I want to be a top investor. I want to do this. Okay, but the way you still perceive yourself, okay, if you still perceive yourself as that guy that is struggling, all right, in um I don't want to call any particular place, in wherever you are, okay, or that person that is still struggling, you still see yourself that way. Of course, you might still be struggling as in working, okay, but in your mind, all right, in your mind, if you still perceive yourself that way, you cannot become that. Okay, so the essence of mindset, changing mindset, okay, is for you to move from that perceived image. Okay, is for you to move from that perceived image, okay, towards to 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 that outward image. I was listening to one guy that is a multimillionaire real estate investor here in the UK. Okay, talking about how he started his business. Okay, all right. He has attended conferences. He has started seeing this thing. There's waiting this thing and all those stuff, right? And in that period, this guy was struggling with his own personal housing. He was struggling with paying his own rent. And this guy started a real estate, this thing. And how he started this, he started with rent to rent and Airbnb. Okay. He's struggling with his own, but paying is this thing. And he still believe that he can be a millionaire. All right. But because in his mind, through conferences, through books of belief system or all those things, he believed this is possible. And so we go and talk to these guys that, particularly those Asian people that moved to this thing. Okay, these guys we have, the build houses and all those things. All right. Go and tell them that, okay, I'm going to manage your property for you. And they will give him this thing and they will do the Airbnb. We pay them. And he kept doing that. He kept doing that. He kept doing that. And he was still struggling with his own listing. So I'm just saying you might be in a situation where things are not happening, but in your mind, okay, it's almost as though you are not living in your situation. You are living in your destination where you want to be, your perceived image. Okay. So the essence of mindset, okay, is to what change, is to change your own perceived image of yourself. And these things happen with, it's everywhere. This changing mindset is a spiritual principle. It's a spiritual principle rather. Okay. And people apply it in every facet of life. Okay. That same principle. Okay. They apply it in the facets of their life. In sports, athletes, and all those things. One of the tough people I feel like if you want to deal with your mindset, be with an athlete. Be with an athlete. Okay. All right. Be with that. Okay. Thank you. Be with an athlete. Should we do a trivia here? But I won't do a trivia so that we'll not waste time, right? We'll not take our time, right? If you look at this guy, that's Michael B. Jordan, that's Kobe Bryant. This is Cristiano Ronaldo and Muhammad Ali. Okay. And one of the things about these guys is their mindset. A lot of us today we say, see Ronaldo, see Ronaldo, see Ronaldo, how this guy is. But the guy's mindset, how many of you know that this guy had a heart defect? He had a surgery, he had a heart defect. And if you look at him now at the age of 40, he's fit than people that they don't have any defects in their life. You get what I'm saying? All right. The person that had a heart defect when he was a teenager, look at how he has transformed the image of himself. If you look at the way, I think you guys should go on Netflix, they're a documentary. You can watch them. Those are the things. Use your Netflix well. Use your YouTube. Watch videos. Encourage yourself. Okay. I was trying to see if I was going to get a video and play of Kobe Bryant. There's a way they refer to Kobe Bryant and Michael B. Jordan, these guys as though they are animals. When they mean animals, when it comes to the mindset, they have a mental toughness. Okay, they have a mental toughness. There's a guy, he said he just joined their group. Okay, just joined their group, and they just finished playing finals. He didn't even join, the guy didn't even play the finals. I think he just moved into their this thing, but they just played finals. Okay, and Kobe Bryant was in that team and they failed. So this guy was a new intake and was like, oh, I'm going to start training earlier than the others. And lo and behold, the guy came in. He saw Kobe Bryant. This guy has been training. So I think he came earlier around 6 a.m. And Kobe Bryant has been there training. And of course, he wasn't describing it like, oh, it's someone that just got there, he was removing his gear. I mean, he said he was seeing him sweating, he was taking already the ice pack massage. So that means he must have done this thing. So he was massaging, trying to rest from the session he was at. I'm going to meet him. That since how long have you been? He said 4 a.m. And he said he was taken aback. You just played the final recently, though you lost, and you're already here 4 a.m. training. Okay, so that's the mindset these guys have. Okay, there's a perceived image of how they see themselves. I like football, so you most likely say I was sneaking football. You know anything I'm talking about, right? Evra, Man United, and those that are Man United fan, I hope you guys are doing well. So Evra was saying something that they would one day after they finished the match, after training, he followed see Ronaldo home, and he said like, oh, that they want to go, and they said that they should go with him, and they went there, you know, and this guy, I think he gave them, they brought a meal or something to them, you know, he had a planned meal, give them chicken and maybe something, and they were like, you know, lynch chicken, all those things. And after that, he stated them they should do 1 to 2 touch. The next thing, he went to swimming, and he said that was the last time he went to his house. That after that time, we didn't even bother. If we go to training, I go to mass. We don't follow you. Do you get what I'm saying? Why? Because there's a, and so you can see why Ronaldo is different from all of them. That's a mental strength. That's a mindset. There's a way he perceived himself. So when we talk to, let's go back to that place. Growth mindset is the essence of mindset is for first the way you perceive yourself. All right, is the way you perceive yourself. I remember when he was in Real Madrid, he had an injury. Okay, and people were saying, this injury that this guy had, if he comes back from this injury, he might not be in his best form. And there are many greats that have had that. Ronaldo de Lima came back from a knee injury. He became a shadow of himself. Many top talents. But this guy came back from having a knee injury, and that was when he was moved from the position to 9. And you know the amount of goals he scored after that time? Well, because there's an image, a perceived image that he have of himself. So growth mindset is the essence of mindset is to work on the perceived image of yourself. Is to work on what? The perceived image of yourself. All right. So don't have a static mindset. Don't have a fixed mindset. And there's one way you can work on your mindset. How can I grow? A lot of us don't ask that question. How can I improve myself? How can I always ask that question. If you are somewhere right now, you are doing something great. Don't say that, oh, I'm doing great, I'm okay. Ask yourself, can I be better? That is the way that you can move from that fixed mindset towards a growth mindset. If you are doing something and you're establishing something and you are getting the praise of people, that is not enough. Tell yourself, how can I improve? A growth mindset always accommodates improvement. Okay, there's a popular company people usually talk about, Kodak, photography film industry. I think they did the research and people were telling them that, oh, there's this improvement that they can do, they can start this. I can't remember the whole story now, but the manager of the business said, no, that's no, he didn't embrace that. So why? He didn't think that's anything better. I remember there was another this I was reading. If you've read The Diary of a CEO, and there was this company that was into music, CDs. They do this. I don't know if it's called Kodak or so. No, I think Kodak is more of photography. So they were doing CDs, right? And they were the one that did the research, and they were like, though people like music, but people will like something that they can easily carry along with them. And the guy said something. He said statement that no, they don't need that. What people really want is music. If you can give them the music, and it was after few months or years that they did this pod. What's the name they used to call it? iPod. You know the iPod that many of us, when we were young, iPod, all right, that we put inside our pocket. This company rejected, the manager of that company rejected that idea, even though it was his company that did the research, he rejected it. Okay, why? Because you had that fixed mindset that no, there's nothing better than the CD disc that we are doing. All right, but there's a group of people that said that okay, you know what, we can still improve on this. Okay, and so
If you will remain valuable, you must have that growth mindset. You might be doing great now, okay? But what you call great in the next 5 years might be average. Nokia 3310 was great, all right? But if you compare Nokia 3310, all right, to Samsung S24, all right, it's no longer great, okay? BlackBerry to iPhone, not great, okay? So always have that mindset of improving yourself, okay? Skill acquisition, improve upon your skill. Look for opportunity to improve on your skill. Take courses, okay? If you will learn from people, volunteer and learn. If you have people that they are doing something, go and volunteer. Take courses. I'm always an advocate of, always seek for improvement. Look for certification. Improve your skill. Okay, take courses. If you are into business, take business courses. All right. If you need mentorship, go for it. All right. The other thing is mental toughness. All right. Mental toughness is very, very important. If you're going to be valuable, you must be mentally tough. All right. Because you will go through ups and downs. Okay. It's not only when you're in the ups that you're valuable. How do you respond to when you are down? Okay. How do you respond to when you are down? I remember there was this guy that was mentoring Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Scott. Okay. When the Standard Oil boomed in America, okay, and investors moved from railway companies to oil. These guys, they did some investment and he could not recover, okay, and that was how his whole business went down, okay. Now, there are other people that will experience that. Carnegie, who was his mentee, experienced that with his competition with uh, with Rockefeller. Okay, but he was able to navigate because he has a mental toughness. So one thing you must develop is you must develop your mental toughness. That's one of the things with these footballers. These guys, there's a book I bought when I was in. I remember the first time I came to London, I was traveling back to Nigeria. I went to the library, I went to look for a book. I went to the bookstore, high performance individuals. All right. And it was majorly on athletes. Okay, because I love the mental toughness of athletes. You can bring their mental toughness to your daily life. These guys sometimes they just have barely sleep for 4-5 hours and they are productive. Okay. Usain Bolt was saying something that the Olympic record of that he will run for 9 seconds. Okay. He has been preparing for that day, for that event for 4 years, 2 to 4 years. Preparation for just a minute. They've been doing that for 4 years. And you can have that mental toughness and you can integrate that mental toughness into your life. Oh my God, you will become so valuable in your sphere. All right. So your mental toughness. Okay. The other thing is continuous improvements. Please, continuous improvements. I've said about that. Okay. I've also said that in the growth mindset. Always look for opportunity to improve. All right. Always look for an opportunity to improve. Okay. Create a system for yourself. All right. Create a system. What I would say is create a system, okay, for growth. All right. Create a system that will allow you to grow. Create an environment that will allow you to grow. Create a relationship that will allow you to go. Learn to say no. A lot of us don't know how to say no. Okay. And when I'm saying no, it's not even to bad habits. I'm not just saying no to to just say no to smoking, say no to laziness. No, a lot of people that have not been able to move from being an hardworking individual to a valuable individual is because many of them don't know how to say no. You know, we think that becoming valuable means doing a lot of things. And this is one myth you must know. It's not about busyness. Don't don't equate business to value. Don't equate being busy to being valuable. In fact, if you will be valuable, you must learn to do what? To say no to some important things that you are doing. And if you people have heard of these things, the Pareto rule, the 80-20 rule, it will tell you that there's a 20% effort that you can give, all right, that you can focus on that will give you 80% productivity. And people are using it in many aspects of their life. Leadership, sales. I think the first time I heard about that rule was in Simon Sinek. All right. Simon Sinek. I think when he wrote, I think is he the some is a book on selling. I can't remember the name. It's not how to start with a why. It's a book on selling. All right. And that's the first time I heard about the rule. Then I read a book on another discipline, and I've seen that a lot of people, this thing is true. Okay. Some of you, there's an aspect of your life. You are always busy. You want to, today, I have a friend. When I want to go and trade, well, because I do stocks, right? And there are some stock company I want to go and do. I go and meet that guy because I've known him for 8 years. He's been trading stocks, and this guy is profitable. Thousands of thousands of dollar worth of investment. I'm not saying 1,000 now, thousands of pounds. Even 100,000s, right? And I've known him trading stocks since almost 7, 8 years. I remember during the boom of cryptocurrency, right? I think, and I was doing my NYC, that's when I met him. And you don't know cryptocurrency? He said, no, he's focusing on stock. So it's not a wonder that this guy, all right, is what profitable in his stock. Okay, there's another person that trades forex. The guy has been trading. The guy is trading forex. He said for 8 years he was not profitable. Okay, all right, until he became profitable, and he's trading $1 million. He trades for all these funds, those kind of things. That's what he trades forex now. All right, but he still was with that thing. He wasn't busy like, oh, today is forex. Some of you say today I'll trade forex. I'll do crypto. I will do this thing together. Sometimes you must learn to say no, even to things that look that good. It's not everything that is good that you must accept. You get what I'm saying? Like it's not, and also in saying no, there are certain opportunities. All right. And that's why when you are talking of value, think of long term. There are certain opportunities that will not contribute to your long-term value. You must learn to say no to that. If you pick yourself and you do this, you scatter your energy. You realize that it will be difficult for you to attain that value. Okay, so the Pareto rule of 20/80 says focus on 20% of your effort to bring 80% of your productivity. Okay, and so you can also implement that in your life. It's not everything you must say yes to. Don't be a yes person. Some of you are even saying yes to be a people's pleaser. You must know when to say no. All right. Why? Because if you learn how to say no, if you can remove, there are some things you need to remove in your life so that you can have a laser focused energy to what you are doing. If some of us, what we only need is focus. All right. If we have that focus, we will be more productive, we will be more valuable in what we are doing. But because we scatter our energy, you want to be busy doing everything, okay? You will realize that the productivity you have is scattered, okay? And that's why you see these people. For example, Bill Gates, we've always known him for what is tech. All right. I don't know. He might have investments in oil company. Do you get what I'm saying? But we don't see him say, oh, he's now into oil, he's into this, he's into that. He's still with this thing. He has that laser focus and he's expanding within that sphere. All right. You see these top guys, there's always something that they are known for. It's not that they cannot do all those other things, but they are giving it 20%, you know, they are 20% effort, that focus to produce that 80%. There's that 20% aspect of their life that they focus on. What is that aspect? That aspect of your life, that 20% of your life, if you focus on it, okay, that can bring 80% productivity that you want. That's the Pareto rule. So also as a salesperson, they will tell you as a salesperson, focus on that 20% that are ready to buy, not the 100% that are not sure. So for example, if you have 10 people, okay, and those 10 people, they don't even know of your product, and you're going to start telling them, but there's these 2 people that they are already searching, they want to buy. Focus and sell on those 2 people. It's most likely you'll be productive. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's what that rule is saying. So there's that aspect of your life. That aspect might not be plenty. If you can give your focus on that aspect, all right, you'll be able to produce. But for you to be able to do that, okay, you must learn to say no to all those things, other things, because other things will call your attention. And that is the discipline you must have, learning to say no. Okay. I know that We'll be rounding up now. Does anybody have? So my point here is, okay, in summary, okay, there's that aspect of value. Okay, there's the intrinsic aspect of value. There's that value. There's the aspect of value that relates with you. That is the most important aspect of value. And there's that aspect of value that relates with what those that are outside with the society. Okay, but you must first build that value of yourself. All right, then you can now build the out. You can also keep working on the other aspects of value, which is the way the society relates with you, because the society keep changing. Okay, the perception. We are now in a world of perception. We are in a perceptual world, all right, and that will keep changing. So you need to improve, update, okay, to see that what you are speaking the language of your own time. If you are valuable, but the language you are still speaking is the 90 90 80, all right, or 1990 language. You will realize that you will not be appreciated, okay, all right. You will not be in demand. Your impact will not be well felt, all right. So that's why, apart from becoming, you must also work on that second aspect, which is your perceptual value. Okay, and we've spoken on the principles to become valuable. We've talked about field growth mindset, saying, continuous improvement. There's an aspect of what I would love to talk about. I think is in this thing is mentorship. All right, mentorship. Mentorship is very important. Okay, mentorship is very important. We cannot overemphasize that. When we started, I said something about social capital. Social capital is also very important. Thank you. Social capital, networking. Okay. Some of you, when some of you want to create, when you say create network for business and this thing, a lot of us, we always look at people that are far off. Okay. But there are some people within your sphere, they are within your age, they are doing some things, you can project. If they continue with these things, these guys will become, they will become top guys. Don't wait till they are top guys to create that value. So be that person. Create a relationship, create a network now with them. Do you get what I'm saying? I was listening to this guy, he's into real estate in Nigeria, to additional, and the guy was saying something. He said a lot of people want to be friends with big time people, but they are young guys that are doing stuff. All right. Dangote or Tedola, they are mates. Do you get what I'm saying? You want to go and network with them. Network with your own guys that are doing stuff now. Create that connection, have a meal with them, discuss with them, have a chat with them. That is your own network. In 5, 10 years, they will become Otedula, they will become they will be the ones that you have social capital with. They will be your own social capital. All right. So it's important you but develop your social capital. You can always pull from it. I used to say that what Yoruba will say this thing, they will say that eniyan lash me. The proverb, it means that the people are my clothing. So one of the greatest form of value you can have is people. Okay, people, and that's why you must learn to treat people with respect. Learn to treat people with with honor. You get what I'm saying? All right. So thank you guys. Let's have question and answer. Does anybody have any question? Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I think somebody is somebody talking or just background noise. If you have any question, please can you ask? Anybody have any question?
So we're not buying drink again. No, yeah, the one
Please
we're going to buy drink.
can you mute your mic, please?
Mommy, are you going to do that?
All right, thank you. Does anybody have a question? Please, you can put, if you are shy to ask questions, does anybody have question? Can you put on the chat? I know that we've spoken a long one, but if you have a question, can you just put on the chat? Oh, all right. So I think we could just, in the absence of question, right? I can see that it's already late. I know that a number of people joined in and a number of people have been leaving as we meeting is, but this is a very interesting one. We'll try as much as possible to upload this section, okay, on our YouTube also. Try as much as possible to listen, to go over it. There are certain things that we have said, all right. And I hope that your idea of value, okay, has been expanded. Okay, your idea of value has been expanded, and yeah, like I said, there are some other webinars that are coming up. We most likely have one in September on branding, and there's one in October. I don't want you guys to miss it. The one in October is on mindset, monetization, and multiplication. Okay, please be there. Okay, thank you so much for being a part of this webinar today. And I think I'll just hand over to Kingsley or Timmy if anyone is there. I'll just round up. Thank you guys for joining.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Akinseye. I'm so much grateful for this insightful insights on what you add for us. I mean, value itself is actually the new currency, and based on everything you have explained so far, have been able to learn a lot, sincerely speaking. And should I say that if you did not join today's meeting, if you do not get anything tangible from this meeting, always remember this, that value itself cannot be removed from your own experience, and you need to as well grow in your awareness to create such for yourself in this age that yes you're in. Capitalize on everything that was spoken about. He made mention about value being your social capital and not your net worth, because a lot of things would be needed to put in place in order for you to see yourself in a place of value. Value is not static. Everything he only made mention of was quite informative and transformative. So please and please so much try as much as possible to have all those things detailed down. And if there's any questions that yes you might have later on, you're gonna drop it on our group chats. Think if you all are in our group chat, try as much as possible to have it right there. And if there are any things that you need clarity about in terms of putting yourself out there, in terms of having to establish yourself in a place of value, try as much as possible to reach out to us here at Thrive Grade. Once again, I'm so much grateful for everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And also let us try as much as possible to fill the form. The form was kept there on the group, and I've actually pinned it for you all to have to see and to make use of. Please and please, let's try as much as possible to put it out there. By doing this, a large number of individuals will be able to have access and as well learn from what exactly we are willing to put there. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much, Tribe Grid. Thank you so much, Dr. Emmanuel Akinseye. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you to the organizers of Tribe Grid, and may God bless you all for joining. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye. See you guys. Thank you.